Toledo, we're famous for Glass, Art Tatum, Tony Pacos, Jamie Farr, a world-class museum, the Toledo Mud Hens and Wildlife, an outstanding zoo and public library system. But who are the people that make our city so great? Welcome to the Soul of the Glass City podcast. I'm your host, Monique. I never really get to interview the media girlies, my fellow people in the press. And when I do, it's always an exciting time. I actually have my good friend from Michigan who happens to make this trek here to Toledo for me.
Yes.
Toi Creel. Girl. Tell me, because I know where you're from, but they might not know where you're from. So how did you end up in the Glass City? Where were you born and raised?
Okay, so first of all, I'm always in and out of Toledo. I worked here for a number of years. I work here still. I'll go back and forth between Michigan and Toledo. So I still got my roots here. Like, I'm never fully putting one foot in, one foot out, or one foot out rather. But how I got here, where I was born and raised. So originally I was actually raised in the Metro Detroit area, but born in Flint, Michigan. And so how I made my way to Toledo, I started off my career in broadcast as a reporter. And then from there, I ended up making my way to Toledo. It was my second job out of college. So I went from Traverse City, Michigan to the Glass City, and I just was welcomed with open arms.
And who hired you?
Who hired me? I worked for NBC 24.
Okay,
I was
girl.
a general assignment reporter. I was in the streets.
That's good. We loved you there too. Like, you was getting all the stories.
Yes. That was like when I was doing like crime and news and stuff. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah. That's where I also realized, even though I like got my feet wet in journalism, that was where I realized I was not a crime girly. Like, I did some murder trials. It was a little minute.
Okay. I remember. From an entertainment reporter to the founder of your own agency, Toi Monet Agency, you've been such an interesting career person to watch.
Well, thank you.
Can you take us back to the early years of your Michigan and, Toledo, like you said, the crime reporting and what's some of the stories and media experiences shaped your path in this marketing and journalism world?
Oh gosh, that's a really good question. Okay, so Toledo, again, was where I got my feet wet, but it was a lot of where I realized I could tell stories about anything and everything, because there was a crime that I was covering, right? I was covering maybe public policy, housing, and each day you got to think about it. It's a different story, a different type of medium that you're covering. So it could be music one day, it could be health the next, it could be politics the next. And so finding the difference with stories and finding that you could tell each and every story no matter how much you research really led me into the social media world, because now my clients are different. I might have a client that's a therapist. I might have a client that's in the food and beverage game, but knowing how to tell that story, how to convey what's important to them and their purpose is something that I still hold true to today. And so that's kind of how my roots in Toledo, I bring those with me now, and how my roots kind of started in general reporting.
You lived in Toledo for a few years, and then you actually moved to LA for a while. What inspired that move, and how long did you stay there?
Yes, honey. I was in Toledo for 2 years. I wasn't into like real estate. I wasn't a homeowner then. I was not one of those people that had always wanted to live in LA. Like, you know how people have like the California dreams and they're kind of all ready to get to the big city? I wasn't there. It just kind of was like an off-put. What I was intrigued by was the entertainment industry. In hard news, in a traditional news setting, you have to be buttoned up and you kind of have to keep your hair straight or maybe like slightly curly, and you wear jewel tones and you don't wear print. And so all these things that we were taught in traditional news. Whereas entertainment, you might see somebody come out in a t-shirt with like a nose ring and purple hair, and nobody cares what you look like as long as you do your job. And so that intrigued me, the working the red carpets, the talking to celebs. I had done some of that in Michigan, but kind of stepping full throttle into the world in LA and trying to be like this little fish in a big pond was interesting to me. And so I felt like God said it was time to move to LA, and I like started all the actions that would make that happen. I started selling my stuff, and I packed my car, and I figured out where I was going to stay. And so that's a little bit about that journey.
How long did you stay there?
I was in LA for 2 years.
Nice.
So Toledo 2 years and then LA for 2 years, right around the pandemic and before my son was born.
Okay. So you have had the privilege of interviewing some of Hollywood's biggest stars, including Regina King. What was it like interviewing someone of her caliber, and how did your approach to storytelling evolve as like a red carpet reporter?
Yes. Okay. Regina King, Ryan Coogler, Tashina Arnold, Terry Crews. So these people that we know and love well. It was often a juxtaposition for me, right, though, because I'm interviewing these big people, and this was in LA. But mind you, I was like walking dogs and like cleaning toilets and like, you know, eventually you land a gig in LA and then sometimes, you know, you're back at square one. So it was kind of like this up and down. In terms of preparing for interviews, though, my take is that you always want to relate to them because they're people first at the end of the day. But then after that, you kind of think like, ugh, I don't want to be a boring reporter and ask the same questions that they're getting asked all the time. How can I be different? What can I pull out of them, that nugget that's special, but also like would make this a good sound bite? Because, you know, you want good sound bites.
Mm-hmm. Like these.
Yeah. Little pops.
Yes, I know Chris is going to have a ball with this one.
Go, Chris, go.
So you played a pivotal role in helping brands like the Lip Bar create content strategies. What's the key to crafting a successful brand narrative that resonates with your audience, especially this oversaturated digital landscape?
Oh, that's a layered question. Okay, so with the Lip Bar and kind of some of those brands, I did a lot of behind the scenes work. And so what that looks like is just capturing BTS, capturing the work that's being done on set and making sure that story is being told. And so that's really fun. In terms of the landscape now and standing out on social media, that could be a little bit hard because you feel intimidated. You get on the internet. Everybody's on the internet. Everybody's trying to tell their stories, all these different things. And so the biggest way I think to craft a content strategy that makes you stand out is to, one, stay authentic. Two, think about what makes you different, like what makes Monique Monique. I'll use you, for example, right? You are predominantly working in the entertainment industry, right? You've got these models. You've been all across the United States. Like you have a podcast right now. Those are all things that you could big up and kind of highlight as a part of your story, right? You're a mother. You're doing it by yourself. And so those are things that I think that make you shine as, one, a person, but two, as somebody who's interesting and worthy of having their story told.
You're hired. You heard that. You heard that right here on Soul of Glass City. She's hired.
Ooh, let me check.
So you are also a mom like me. You mentioned that earlier.
Heck yeah.
How old is your son now? And how is balancing motherhood with your career responsibilities and current aspirations?
Let's see. So my son is 4. And he's the highlight of my world. I love that little boy so much. The other day he was like, Mommy, no, he got that. My mom had gave him a bath. So we live with our grandparents and his grandparents, my parents. And so she had given him a bath and he was like, oh, is my mom home? I need to get out the tub so I can spend time with her. And we had just spent the whole day together.
That's so beautiful.
But just like stuff like that is always good. It can be a little bit difficult juggling, especially because, you know, I run a social media agency, a social media marketing agency pretty much full time. And so having that balance where I'm trying to connect with him and make sure I'm not on my phone and being present while also handling clients and like, you know, maintaining that busy balance. I don't think it's ever like a complete balance. At least that's what I hear people say. But oftentimes just kind of teetering between one and the other, but making sure that the main thing is the main thing. Like he feels important, he feels noticed, he feels seen, and he feels present. And also too, sometimes that he gets to come with me. Like I think I took him at a shoot the other day and he was like, Mommy, did I do a good job? You see how I was listening and being quiet while you were working on my tablet? And I was like, yeah, you did a really good job. So I noticed that he's watching and it always warms my heart when I can include him on some part of the process.
You know, that reminds me of me when my kids were little and now they're all studious and productive. And
yeah.
It works, girl. It works. I was dragging them around, promoting stuff, having them pass out flyers. Now my daughter works in the medical field. My son's in the military. And the third one is going to college in Michigan. And if, you know, this FAFSA comes through. But, and then the little one, she's like reading on a 3rd grade level. She's 5 and doing math on like a 4th, 5th grade level. So I think that watching us and just keeping them involved and not treating them like babies, I think it has a really great effect.
Yeah.
So you're doing the right thing. I just want you to know.
Thank you. And shout out to you for being an amazing mother and businesswoman.
Thank you. Your mission as a social media influencer and content creator focuses on authentic storytelling, like you said, but also the human connection. In a world where digital content is often criticized for being superficial, what advice do you have for individuals, entrepreneurs, or influencers looking to build genuine relationships with their audience?
Oh, genuine. I think you gotta have a level of honesty that's not necessarily exploitative, right? You don't need to go and like show your right butt cheek. I know this is a public station. But you do need to be able to connect in a way and let them know like, hey, I'm human. I'm not having the best day today. Right now, I look a mess. My wig might be, a little misconstrued. Let me pull it down. But having that kind of authenticity and just being real, I think is the first foundational way to connect with people, right? And then two, also sharing your story. I think that's a big part of it. Like, sharing your purpose about why you want to be online, why you're even wanting to connect with people. And in terms of building that audience, that authenticity, that truthfulness is how I notice people can really start with a firm foundation and kind of build upon that.
Now, what's really cool about this is that me and you had a moment, and we didn't even realize it was going to be a moment, when we both got asked to be on CreatorCon in Michigan. And it was a big event that I've seen you speak at, like, I think 2 years in a row. And this was like, the third year?
Yeah.
And then I got invited from Ohio, and I was the only person from Ohio. And I see you, and I'm like, I'm on the stage with her, the girl that's been doing it. And, it was just a moment. And, even to have you right now here with me, and this is just the most fun interview ever. Woo! I just love it. And I just appreciate you. And I just want to say, it's a blessing for us to be in this place.
Absolutely.
My last question: where do you see Toledo faring in this world of AI technology and content creation?
AI tech and content creation. First of all, I think Toledo's going to go with the trends, right? This is a little LA or New York or however you want to call it. But Toledo is a big city.
Little Michigan.
Toledo's its own. Toledo holds its ground.
Okay.
And so I think it's going to follow the trend. Might be a little behind, but it's still going to follow the trend of AI and tech. I'm screaming. That's you. You said that.
I'm being funny right now. I love both. I love both equally. Everybody knows that.
This is true. Where do I think Toledo is going? The biggest thing that I love about this city, and that I will continuously and probably always love about this city, is that Toledo tries. The quality is here, from the artwork to the places to eat to the places to socialize and like do outreach. There's a vibrant community here. And that's one thing
Hold up. We are an award-winning city. We are
an award-winning
museum, all of that,
Period. The zoo,
yeah.
Toledo Museum of Art.
Yes,
we have the Monique Ward. So beautiful things here in Toledo. It's a beautiful city, and I love the art, the people, and the culture that comes out of this place. And I'll stand on that.
And that's another little snap. You got the snap? My snaps be quiet. There we go. All right. Thank you for coming. I love you. So. Love you too. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I'm your host and producer, Monique. My executive producer is Chris Piper. Join me next time for another exciting episode of Soul of the Glass City podcast. For more information, if you have questions or comments, go to wgte.org/soul.
WGTE. Voices around us.